Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me.
My 14-year-old son, Aiden, stood in the doorway, holding his phone like it weighed 100 pounds. They posted the invite list, he said. I was finishing up dishes in the kitchen. He didn't need to say which invite. His cousin's bar mitzvah, big, expensive country club kind of event, his mom's sister's kid. We both knew it was coming up. I just didn't know it would hit like this. I dried my hands on a dish towel and turned to him. He didn't move. Are we on it? I asked, even though I already knew the answer. He looked down, then up again. Nope. I kept my face steady. I didn't flinch. But inside, that was a different story. Quick note. Before listening, share in the comments which city or country you're watching from. Let's get to know each other and see where our community is from. And let's continue. Aiden crossed the room and handed me the phone. There it was, the glossy digital flyer posted to Instagram. Professional attire only, adults only, strict guest list, formal RSVP required. Names listed in tiny gold letters, all of them. Everyone from his mom's side, except us. I stared at the list a second too long, then gave the phone back. Guess we didn't make the cut. He didn't smile, didn't even blink. Are we not family anymore? My chest got tight. I swallowed hard. We're just not the kind they want to show off. He nodded once, then turned and walked down the hall to his room. That silence? That hit harder than anything his mom had ever said. Or not said. I just stood there, still holding the towel. My hands clenched without meaning to. I'd been raising Aiden by myself since his mom took off 4 years ago. Ran off to Austin with some finance guy she met on LinkedIn. Real charmer. Wore loafers with no socks and posted about vision boards like it meant something. She left a note on the table and a week later changed her Facebook to engaged. From that point on, it was like me and Aiden had never existed. No calls, no cards, no birthdays. And now? Now her family followed suit. Quietly cut us off like we were some embarrassing phase she needed to bury. I kept it civil. Always did. Never talked bad about her to Aiden. Never stopped him from texting her, even when she ghosted him half the time. I figured, let her build whatever polished image she wanted. But this was different. They didn't just cut me out. I was used to that. They told my son he didn't count, like he was something they could Photoshop out of the family picture. That night, I passed by Aiden's room and saw his sketch pad open on the floor. He'd drawn a chair, empty, in the middle of a long table. Every other chair was filled with people wearing suits and dresses, champagne flutes in hand. No faces, just outlines, except the empty chair. That one had his name on it. I closed the door without saying a word. There was nothing to say. But I made a decision, right then and there. I'd spent 4 years keeping my head down, being polite, respecting their distance. Screw that. They drew the line. Now I was going to show them exactly who they left out. I didn't rage. I didn't post about it. I didn't even bring it up again. I worked. I started taking extra shifts at the shop, stayed late doing break jobs nobody wanted to touch, picked up roadside calls at 2 a.m. like they were nothing. Every greasy hour I clocked went straight into a separate savings account. Not for revenge. I didn't care about getting even. This wasn't about ego. This was about precision. About showing Aiden that we could build something better without begging for a seat at their table. Back home, Aiden kept his head down. School, sketching, repeat. He didn't talk about the invite list again. But every now and then I'd hear him erasing something so hard it tore through the page. That kind of silence doesn't lie. I saw what he saw online. His mom and her new fiancé, they were on vacation again. Jet skis, wine tastings, those fake candid shots with everyone laughing in coordinated linen. She had the nerve to post a pic of her fiancé's kid with the caption, "Our little tribe." Not one word about her actual son. I stared at that caption for a good minute before I closed the app and went back to work. After my 4th week of double shifts, I called my buddy Lance, real estate attorney I knew from high school. Used to fix up his Harley for cheap. I told him I was done letting my name sit beside hers on the deed. He didn't ask questions. We started the paperwork to get the condo transferred fully under my name. No more joint anything. Not even technically. A couple days later, I was sitting at the kitchen table with a laptop and a stiff neck from a 10-hour transmission job. I bought a domain, something clean and simple, and slapped together a 1-page site. Black background, gold trim, bold white header, "Come as you are." That was the title. Underneath, in smaller letters, a celebration of real family, hosted by James and Aiden. No titles, no pretense, just loyalty. I kept the guest list short. 42 people, all handpicked. No fluff. People who showed up for us when things were ugly. Aiden's old art teacher who stayed after school with him when I had no one to pick him up. My crew from the shop, the ones who brought him cupcakes on his 12th birthday because his mom forgot. The neighbor who helped shovel our driveway that first winter alone. Not a single last name from her side. Then came the invitations. Not digital, not cheap. I paid extra for the good stuff. Matte black cardstock, gold foil lettering, heavy enough to feel like something. I dropped the order to a local print shop and picked them up 2 days later. Thick envelopes, embossed seal on the back. Real formal, just enough to mess with the people who thought we didn't belong in formal spaces. I didn't tell Aiden right away. I wanted it to be right. I wanted him to see it with his own eyes. The night I laid the stack of envelopes on the kitchen counter, he walked in wearing one of his oversized hoodies, earbuds half dangling out. He looked at the envelopes. "What's this?" I pulled one out and handed it to him. "Open it." He slid his finger under the flap and pulled out the invitation. His eyes moved slow across the gold letters, then up at me. "You made this?" "Yep. We're throwing our own event. New Year's Day. Just for us. Just for the people who never needed to be impressed." He stared at the card a second longer, then smiled. Not wide. Just a quiet, real one. "This is sick." I gave his shoulder a light slap. "Damn right it is." The next day, we spent the afternoon stamping envelopes and making a spreadsheet of addresses. I bought us matching black button-downs for the night. Nothing fancy. Just enough to say, we showed up. It wasn't about proving anything to her side of the family. It was about drawing a line and making damn sure everyone knew which side we stood on. I sent it out on December 28th. Thick envelope, certified mail, signature required. I stood at the counter at the UPS store and watched the clerk scan it into the system. Real estate transfer, final divorce amendment, and one printed photo of Aiden, smiling at our kitchen table with his sketch pad open, pencil in hand. A moment she never asked to see. No note, no explanation. She didn't deserve one. By the time I got home, Aiden was out front untangling a ball of lights. I helped him string them up around the porch railing, his idea to make the place feel like we actually lived here. The cold was sharp enough to bite through my sleeves, but I didn't care. I was done feeling like a background character in my own damn life. That night, around 8:30, my phone lit up with a number I hadn't saved, but still recognized immediately. Heron. I let it ring once, twice, then picked up. "What's this about?" she asked. Voice tight. No greeting. No pause. "It's about truth," I said. "You're not in our story anymore. Not by mistake. By choice." She scoffed. "You think this little stunt makes you look better?" "No," I said. "But I'm done making you look better at the cost of our son." There was a beat of silence. Not long, but long enough to know I'd hit a nerve. She came back sharp. "You've always been petty. And you've always been absent," I said. "But hey, at least one of us stayed consistent. You had no right to send that picture. Didn't realize I needed permission to share a photo of my own kid with his mother. Don't worry, it's the only one you'll get." She exhaled hard, like she was building up for something big. But whatever it was, She choked on it and hung up. I stood in the kitchen with the phone still in my hand, screen glowing. Aiden was in the living room fiddling with the light timer. "Who was that?" he asked without turning around. I slid the phone into my back pocket. "Nobody that matters." He nodded and went back to what he was doing. No questions. He didn't need answers he already knew. We went back outside, finished hanging the last string of lights under the awning. The bulbs flickered on, soft yellow, just enough to give the house some warmth. He stepped back to look, hands on his hips. "Not bad," he said. "Not bad at all," I agreed. Inside, I pulled the divorce documents from my drawer one last time. Her name used to be all over everything. Co-owner, emergency contact, secondary guardian. Now it was a ghost. Lance had filed it airtight. No loopholes, no access, no claims. Condo fully mine. Custody defaulted to me by abandonment. She'd never contested, never followed up, never paid attention. I wasn't even angry anymore. Just done. That night, I tossed out the last shoebox of leftover junk she'd left behind. Old charger cords, some jewelry she forgot, one of her old work notebooks with a scribbled budget from before she ran off with Mr. Crypto. I didn't even look through it, just dumped it all straight into the trash. The next morning, I watched the mail carrier scan the tracking number on my receipt and confirm delivery. Signature received. No return comment. 3 hours later, her sister posted a photo of the bar Mitzvah decor on Instagram. Rows of gold chairs, crystal centerpieces, a menu with foie gras and lobster tail. Same day, I officially signed my name as sole owner of a 2-bedroom condo in Spokane Valley with one dented garage door and a busted thermostat. I wouldn't trade for a damn thing. That evening, Aiden asked if we could hit Home Depot. Said he wanted to build a firewood stand with some leftover pallets from the shop. I told him to grab his boots. As we pulled out of the driveway, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I hit ignore without a second thought. I wasn't wasting time on people who thought they could pop in and out of our lives like it was a revolving door. We spent 2 hours in that store. He picked out nails and a little saw he'd been eyeing. Kept walking ahead of me down the aisles like he was on a mission. For the first time in a long time, he looked relaxed. Not like a kid waiting for the next letdown. Like someone who knew where he stood. Later that night after dinner, we sat on the couch watching reruns of Forged in Fire. Aiden had his sketchbook again, drawing up some blueprint for his little wood project. I glanced over and saw he'd drawn 2 people standing in front of a porch, same lights we'd just put up, with smoke rising from a fire pit off to the side. A house behind them. Small, but solid. One of the people was him. The other had my boots. He didn't say a word about it, just kept sketching. I didn't say anything either. I didn't need to. New Year's Day, 6 p.m. sharp. The porch lights were on. Brisket was slow smoking in the barrel pit out back. Bluetooth speaker thumping classic rock, Tom Petty, real loud, and Aiden was grinning ear to ear in the driveway, holding a bag of ice like it was a trophy. Our small house had never felt bigger. Friends kept rolling up. Aiden's English teacher brought hot cider in a thermos. One of the tech instructors from his school dropped off a stack of sketchbooks he'd just had lying around. A few of the younger guys from my garage showed up with store-bought pies and big appetites. Nobody wore suits. Nobody needed to. The backyard filled up fast. Folding chairs circled the fire pit. Somebody brought sparklers. One of the neighbor kids played DJ from his phone. I caught Aiden laughing with 2 of his classmates, a sound I hadn't heard in a long time, real and open. I stepped back and let it all move around me. It wasn't some Pinterest party or yacht brunch. It was brisket and beer and people who cared. Then, like they were on a damn schedule, 3 black SUVs pulled up to the curb. It wasn't subtle. Tinted windows, chrome trim, matching plates from some rental fleet. They parked directly across the street, like they wanted everyone to see the entrance. Her fiancé, her sister, and someone else I didn't recognize. Probably PR. They stepped out in slow formation. All coats and smirks, expensive fabrics, fresh blowouts, walking in heels that didn't belong on our cracked sidewalk. Aiden froze mid-laugh when he saw them. His smile dropped, but he didn't move. I motioned to him with a quiet nod. I got it. We had a plan. We'd talked it through the night before. I wasn't going to cause a scene. I wasn't going to raise my voice. I was going to let the paper speak for itself. Right on cue, Mitch, the security guy I'd hired, stepped away from the porch post. Not some goon in a black shirt, just a retired sheriff's deputy who now runs a private security firm. Clean-cut, polite, and didn't flinch under pressure. He walked right up to her. "Ma'am," he said, handing her a sealed black envelope with a single gold stripe across the flap. She took it like it was some formal invite, like maybe she'd made the list after all. Her fiancé leaned over her shoulder, eyebrows lifted, probably wondering what kind of party had printed envelopes in private security. She opened it, unfolded the thick card, and read. Her face cracked first, jaw clenched. Then came the shift in her eyes. Recognition, shame, rage. Like the spotlight had flipped, and now she was center stage with no script. Her sister peeked over and scoffed loud enough for the neighbors to hear. The letter read, "This celebration is for real family, not those who drop blood ties for better optics. If you're reading this, you're already outside." She looked up and made eye contact with me. I didn't move. I just held her stare like I was looking through glass. No welcome. No guilt. Mitch stepped back to his post. She shifted on her heels, looked like she wanted to say something, maybe spin it, maybe salvage face. But then a voice shouted from across the lawn, "Yo, is that her?" It was one of the shop guys, holding a sparkler and a beer, recording on his phone. His buddy angled the shot. Not posed, not planned, just caught it raw. The confrontation, the clothes, the glare, the envelope, the line they never got past. They stood there for another full 30 seconds, like they were deciding whether to force it. Then her fiancé touched her elbow, muttered something low, and they turned back to the SUVs. Doors slammed, engines started. They pulled away just as loud as they came in, taillights glowing red down our street. I walked back toward the fire pit where Aiden sat. He didn't ask what happened. He saw enough. I handed him a soda from the cooler and sat beside him. "You good?" He nodded, slow. "They really thought they could just show up." "They always do," I said. He didn't say anything for a second, then added, "I'm glad you didn't let them in." I looked around, fire crackling, laughter in the air, people telling stories and playing music on a Bluetooth speaker that cost me $30. And my kid, right there next to me, leaning back with his hoodie pulled up, looking more at peace than I'd seen in years. "This," I said, "is the family that counts." He smiled, a real one, then held up his phone. "Dude posted the video already. It's blowing up." I chuckled. "Great." He tagged it #GatekeeperDad. I rolled my eyes. "That's gonna follow me around, huh?" "Yup." He kept scrolling. Thousands of views already. That night, after the last guests left and the fire burned down low, I stood at the edge of the lawn looking out at the spot where those SUVs had parked. There wasn't a trace left. No tire marks. No sign they were ever there. Just quiet. Inside, Aiden was cleaning up paper cups and plates like it was second nature. No asking. No complaints. I watched him move around that kitchen like he owned the place. Because, in a way, he did. By the next morning, our lawn was just wet grass and leftover footprints. But online, it was a damn wildfire. The video blew past 50,000 views before I even finished my coffee. Comments flooded in like someone kicked down the internet's front door. Legend. This dad is everything. Imagine choosing a yacht over your own kid. Gatekeeper Dad goes hard. Aiden sat across the table, chewing cereal like it was any other Monday. Meanwhile, his phone buzzed every few seconds. He didn't say much, but I saw the corners of his mouth twitch every time a new notification popped up. At first, I figured it'd fade after a day or two. But no, it got bigger. People started screen capping the letter, sharing quotes, debating real family versus fake loyalty in the comments like it was gospel. Some parenting blog reposted the clip with the title, "Boundaries Done Right." I couldn't keep up with it, and I didn't try to. But I did notice something else. The silence. From her side. Her influencer sister, the one who built her whole brand around authentic luxury and sponsored eco-linen robes, lost 2 partnerships before noon. I saw the proof on Twitter. Someone posted an email leak from one of her affiliates that said, "No longer aligns with brand values." Brutal. I couldn't lie. It felt good. Then came the local paper. Front page of the community section. Mechanic father teaches elites a lesson in loyalty. They didn't even call me for a quote. Just ran the story based on the video, some background research and public comments. Described me as calm, unshakable, and protective in a way money can't imitate. Aiden clipped the article out and taped it to the fridge like a kid who just made honor roll. At school, it hit even harder. His friends started treating him like some kind of legend. Teachers gave him nods in the hallway. And then the guidance counselor, the one who used to glance at me sideways during parent meetings like I was the problem, stopped him after 3rd period. "That was really your dad?" she asked. Aiden just smiled and said, "Yeah," then walked off. He told me that part later, grinning when he did. I just clapped him on the back and said, "Damn right." It should have stopped there. But the phone kept ringing. Most were blocked numbers or DMS from news sites, a few podcast invites. I ignored all of it. Until the landline rang, the one only a handful of people still had. I was in the garage wiping down a distributor cap when I picked up. "James," the voice said. "It's me." I knew who it was immediately. Her dad, a man who once shook my hand at our wedding and told me, straight-faced, that he respected men who worked with their hands, then turned around and told my wife I'd never rise above my tools. Now here he was, calling me like it was Sunday dinner. I wanted to say, "We owe you both an apology." Not I was wrong, just we. Like they'd all sat down and written a joint statement. I didn't say a word. He waited. I heard his breath shift, like he expected me to jump in, say something forgiving, take the high road. But I just stood there with the phone to my ear, letting him sit in that silence. 10 seconds. 15. Then I hung up. I walked back inside, cracked open a root beer, and sat down next to Aiden on the couch. He was sketching again, a new piece. 2 hands holding a chain, but only one side was letting go. Symbolic. Sharp. He glanced at me. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," I said. "Just someone trying to catch up." He nodded, satisfied. No more questions. That night we grilled burgers in the backyard. Aiden insisted on doing the patties himself. I watched him set them on the grill with steady hands, checking the sear like he was auditioning for Top Chef. Proud didn't even begin to cover it. As we ate, he scrolled through the latest batch of TikTok comments, reading a few out loud. "This dad should run for president. That one's wild." I laughed. "That's how you know the internet's lost its mind." He kept going. One guy said, "My dad ghosted me for a new family. Wish I had someone like yours." That one hung in the air for a second longer. Aiden set the phone down. "Kinda crazy, right? Like, it's just us." "Yeah," I said, "and apparently that's enough." Later that night I checked the fridge. Still had the paper up, the article headline sitting right next to Aiden's firewood stand sketches, and his last math test with a giant red A. I took a picture of it. Just one. Didn't post it anywhere. Didn't need to. Some moments aren't for sharing. They're just for remembering. It was a Saturday morning when Aiden slid an envelope across the kitchen table. No return address. Just a plain white rectangle with careful handwriting and a stamp already stuck on. He didn't sit down. He just stood there with his arms crossed, watching my face. "For Mom's sister," he said. I didn't touch it. "You sure?" He nodded once. "Read it," but I'm still mailing it. So I opened it. The handwriting was neat. No doodles, no messy corners, just straight lines and sharp sentences, the kind that hit harder because he didn't dress them up. You said we didn't belong, but I belong right where I am, with the one parent who stayed. I didn't breathe for a second, just kept reading. You used to call me your bonus nephew. You posted throwback pics and tagged me in them like you actually meant it. But I remember every birthday you skipped, every message you left unread, every promise to see me soon that never happened. I looked up at him. He didn't flinch. He just waited. You posed as the perfect aunt online, the fun one, the cool one, the one who cared. But you never called once after Mom left. Not even when I broke my arm. Not even when you saw the pictures. I remembered that arm. Third day of 7th grade. Fell off his bike in the school parking lot. She liked the Facebook post and never said a word. You called my dad a loser. I heard you. You thought I wasn't in the room. But I was. I remember everything. I remember how you laughed about our apartment, said it smelled like a tire shop. That line made me grip the edge of the table. But guess what? That loser never left. Never lied. Never pretended we didn't exist just because it made things easier on camera. When your little empire started falling apart, he stayed quiet. He could have destroyed you, but he didn't need to. Because the truth did the job for him. I'm not angry. I'm just proud of who I am, and proud of him. He'd signed it just his first name. No last name, no address, nothing they could spin. I folded the letter slow, careful not to crease the corners. I slid it back into the envelope and pushed it toward him. He took it without a word, grabbed his hoodie from the hook by the door, and headed outside. I followed him down the block to the blue USPS mailbox near the gas station. We didn't talk. I just walked a step behind while he held that envelope like it weighed something real. When we reached the box, he stood there for a second. Then he looked over his shoulder. She didn't just leave, he said. They all did. I didn't interrupt. He needed to finish. I kept waiting for one of them to call, or show up, or even just say something. But they didn't. They acted like I was a secret. He dropped the envelope into the slot. It hit the bottom with a soft thud. But I'm done waiting now. We walked back home in silence. Snow had started to fall. Thin, slow flakes that disappeared when they touched the sidewalk. Later that night, Aiden pulled his sketchbook onto the couch and started drawing again. I glanced over. This time it was a letterbox, drawn from the side. In the picture, the flag was down, the box was shut, and a single letter sat inside. He shaded it all dark except the envelope, which he left blank. It almost glowed. You want to title that one? I asked. He shrugged. Nah, I already said what I needed to. I didn't press. He knew what he was doing. That was his voice now. Sharp lines and soft punches that landed deeper than yelling ever could. Before bed, he stopped by the kitchen. His hand hovered over the newspaper clipping still taped to the fridge. You think she'll even read it? He asked. She'll read it, I said. People like that always do. He gave a small nod, then headed to his room. I stood there alone in the kitchen, eyes on that taped-up article, next to his test scores and sketches and scraps of a life built from scratch. No filters, no hashtags, just hard work and showing up every single day. He mailed that letter without asking for permission or forgiveness. He didn't care what came back, if anything did at all. And I realized something as I watched him close his door that night. He didn't need closure. He already had clarity. Aiden's letter went out on a Monday. By Wednesday, the internet did what it does best. It dug deep and hit nerves. Her sister's Instagram page was already taking heat, but this time it got serious. A TikTok user with too much time and a decent following posted a breakdown of her luxury brand's unpaid invoices, screenshots of vendors claiming they never got paid, emails unanswered for months. The video had charts, receipts, and commentary like it was an episode of Dateline. The clip racked up over 500,000 views by Friday. By the weekend, the hashtags turned ugly. Her polished authenticity act cracked. People started calling her a fraud. Someone exposed a fake donation receipt she used to promote a campaign last fall. Her face was plastered on expose thumbnails with titles like influencer or imposter. Then came the cherry on top. Her husband filed for legal separation. The court filing got leaked. Someone screenshotted a piece of the documents. His claim? Misrepresentation of assets and public image. That line went viral. Meanwhile, screenshots leaked from her private DMS. She was mocking her husband's mom, calling her a thrift store Queen Elizabeth, and dragging her own followers for asking basic questions in her Q&As. Her PR rep bailed within 24 hours. Brands pulled out like rats from a sinking yacht. Aiden saw the posts. He didn't gloat. He didn't even comment. He just saved a few of the memes to his camera roll and went back to his sketch pad. By the second week, her mom, the same one who used to leave birthday cards unsigned just in case they got returned, deactivated Facebook. I saw the goodbye post. It was one sentence. Please respect our family's privacy during this difficult time. The comments were anything but respectful. I didn't bother reading past the first 10. They were brutal. Cold truth, spelled out with likes and retweets. Then came the knock. I was in the living room watching the late news. Aiden was in his room with his headphones on. Rain hit the windows in sheets, loud and steady. When I opened the door, she was standing there. Her makeup was streaked down her cheeks, mixing with the rain. She looked like someone who'd been running damage control all day and ran out of places to hide. "James," she said, voice hoarse. I was wrong. I didn't move, didn't invite her in. Just leaned on the doorframe and waited. "About what?" I asked. She blinked rain off her lashes. "All of it. Our son, you, everything." I let that hang in the air. She was shivering, soaked through her designer coat, the kind of outerwear made to be seen, not to actually keep you warm. "You left," I said, "and now you want me to fix it?" "I'm not asking for that," she said quickly. People are listening to your side now, to his side, and you need backup," I cut in. She flinched. I didn't care. "I need us to look united," she said. "For his sake. For mine." I stepped back half an inch, not out of hesitation, just so I could see her whole face in the porch light. She looked tired, not just worn down, stripped, like whatever shine she clung to had been wiped off. "You made him invisible," I said. "You don't get to ask for light now." She didn't reply. Her lip trembled. Maybe she was waiting for me to let her in, offer a towel, tell her it wasn't too late. Instead, I pulled the door shut, slow but solid. Not slammed, not rushed, just final. The sound of the latch echoed in my ears longer than it should have. I stood there a second, hand still on the knob. Then I turned off the porch light. Back in the living room, I sat down, let the silence settle around me. The rain outside picked up again, tapping the windows like a reminder. Aiden walked in holding a pencil behind his ear. "Who was that?" "Wrong address," I said. He raised an eyebrow, but let it go. I tilted my head toward his sketch pad. "Still working on that cabin piece?" "Yeah," he said, trying to get the roof lines right. "Take your time," I said. "Make it sturdy." He nodded and headed back to his room. And just like that, it was quiet again. No drama, no cameras, no staged apologies. Just a dry house, a strong roof, and the kid who mattered. A few days after that rainy doorstep knock, the school sent out a flyer asking parents to volunteer for Career Week. I saw it crumpled in the bottom of Aiden's backpack next to a broken pencil and half a granola bar. He hadn't brought it up. Didn't surprise me. I wasn't the kind of dad schools usually ask to speak. I don't wear a badge or a lab coat. I don't carry a business card with raised lettering or shake hands with real estate agents at fundraisers. But a couple days later, Aiden was cleaning up his sketch area in the living room and said, casual as hell, "Hey, you gonna talk at Career Week?" I paused, mid-sip of my coffee. Why? You want me to? He shrugged, but didn't look up. Could be cool. They get a lot of boring jobs. Figured yours isn't. That was all it took. I filled out the form, turned it in, and circled the date on the calendar like I was prepping for a damn court appearance. When the day came, I didn't clean up for it. No pressed shirt or shined boots. I walked in wearing my usual scuffed work boots, dark jeans, a red flannel that had seen too many oil stains to count, and hands that told the truth whether I wanted them to or not. Some of the other parents wore slacks, silk scarves, ID badges clipped to lanyards. The nurse had a slideshow. The software guy brought gadgets. One mom passed out custom pens with her law firm's logo on them. I had grease under my nails and a black thermos in my hand. The school set us up in the gym. Folding chairs, portable mic, squeaky floors. They brought in different classes by the hour. I waited my turn, standing in the corner near the exit in case I changed my mind. Then Aiden walked in with his class, scanning the room till he found me. He didn't wave. He just nodded like we were meeting on neutral ground. His friends whispered something and laughed. I clenched my jaw but stayed put. The teacher, a tall guy with a bad tie, started introducing the guests. When it came time for me, he opened his mouth, but Aiden stepped forward instead. He walked to the front, turned to face the room, and pointed to me. "This is my dad," he said. "He fixes things, not just engines, people, homes, promises." The room went quiet. I stood and walked up to the front. Didn't touch the mic. Didn't need it. "I'm James Bennett," I said. "I work at a garage down in Spokane Valley. I fix cars, trucks, the occasional lawnmower when someone's desperate." A few chuckles, mostly polite. I kept going. "Been doing this a long time. Long enough to know people treat you different when you've got calluses instead of cufflinks. But here's the thing. Engines don't lie. They either run or they don't. They either work or you fix them." A kid in the second row raised his hand. "What's the hardest thing you've ever fixed?" I smiled. A water pump in a '98 Jeep Cherokee with a snapped bolt buried behind the fan clutch. He blinked. Cool. I looked around. But the most important thing I ever fixed wasn't a car. Aiden watched me, arms crossed, no expression on his face. But I saw it in his eyes. "It was a promise," I said, "to show up, even when nobody else did. Especially then." That was all I needed to say. I stepped back, gave the next parent the floor, and headed toward the edge of the gym. Then one of the teachers, I think she taught science, caught my arm as I passed. "Mr. Bennett," she said, "you raised a good man." I nodded, trying. "No," she said, "you did." That hit harder than any applause. Later that afternoon, I picked Aiden up from practice. He hopped in the truck, tossed his backpack in the back seat, and said, "You actually did good." High praise. "One of the guys said you were the only speaker that didn't sound fake." I chuckled. "Well, I don't own a fake voice." "Guess not," he said. Then after a pause, "Thanks for coming." "You asked. I showed." That was our deal, always had been. He asks, I show. No exceptions, no outs. That night we grilled steaks in the driveway. No real reason. Just felt like we'd earned it. I watched him flip them with my old tongs, humming along to the radio. He wore the same hoodie he always did, sleeves pushed up, wrist covered in pencil marks. I sat back with a cold drink and just watched him move. He was getting taller. His shoulders were starting to square out. He didn't ask for help flipping the steaks or carrying the plates inside. That kid, the one who used to sit on the porch waiting for birthday cards that never came, he wasn't here anymore. Now I had a young man standing next to me, one who spoke up when it counted, one who knew the difference between respect and reputation. I didn't need a stage or applause or viral videos. I had this, boots in the dirt, heat from the grill, and a kid who knew what real love looked like. And that was enough. 2 weeks after Career Week, Aiden and I were at our usual spot, Mike's Diner off I-90. Vinyl booths, bottomless coffee, servers who knew your name without asking. We sat in our regular corner near the window, eating pancakes for dinner just because we could. Aiden was halfway through sketching a new logo for my buddy's detailing shop, said he wanted to start trying freelance stuff. I was halfway through my second plate of bacon when this guy in a navy blazer walked in and looked around the room like he was checking a list. Then he spotted me. He came straight over, no hesitation, and stood at the edge of our booth like he'd rehearsed it. "Excuse me," he said. "Are you the man from the mechanic story?" I wiped my hands on a napkin and looked him up and down. Blazer, no tie, loafers, nice watch. Didn't look like our usual crowd. "Guess so," I said. He smiled and held out a card. "I run a national mentorship program for young people going into the trades. Carpentry, HVAC, electrical, mechanics, the works. We host an annual summit. Big turnout. We'd like you to speak this year." I blinked. "You want a mechanic up there?" He didn't flinch. "We want a father who stood his ground." Aiden paused his sketching, looked over at the guy, then nudged me under the table with his foot. "You should do it," he said. I stared at him, then at the card, then back at the guy. "I'm not a speaker," I said. "Never done anything like that." He nodded like he'd heard it before. "That's fine. We don't need a polished pitch. Just your story. 5 minutes. We'll cover everything. Flight, hotel, meals. It's in Denver, March 17th. "A lot of real professionals in those rooms," I said. "I'm just some guy from Spokane who turns wrenches." "Exactly," he said. "You're the kind of story they never get to hear." Aiden nudged me again. "Come on, Dad." The guy handed me the card and backed off. "Think about it. Email me either way. You've got something people need to hear." We watched him walk out, leave a tip at the counter even though he didn't order anything, and disappear into the parking lot. I looked down at the card. Black ink, clean font, American Trades Future Leaders Summit. National Chair, Derek Miles. Aiden leaned across the table. "You scared?" I smirked. "Not scared. Just don't want to stand in front of a bunch of strangers pretending I'm some big deal." "You don't have to pretend," he said. "Just be the same guy who stood on our porch and told them no." That hit me harder than it should have. I folded the card and slipped it into my wallet. "All right, I'll think about it." Aiden grinned and went back to his sketch like the matter was settled. When we got home, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at that card for 20 minutes, while the faucet dripped behind me. I thought about how many years I spent getting told I'd never be more than grease under my nails. How many times I let people talk over me because they wore better shoes or used fancier words. Then I thought about Aiden, standing up for me at Career Week, writing that letter, building a firewood rack from scratch and calling it Just Practice. I opened my laptop and typed out an email to Derek Miles. Nothing long, just one sentence. "I'll do it." I hit send before I could change my mind. The next morning I told Aiden while we were eating breakfast. "You serious?" he asked. "Yeah, I'm booked for Denver." He leaned back in his chair like I'd just told him I got drafted to the NFL. "That's wild," I laughed. "Don't get used to it." He grabbed his phone and started looking up flights. "You think they'll have decent food there?" "Kid, it's a conference. You're lucky if you get coffee that doesn't taste like brake fluid." "Still worth it," he said. And for the first time in a long time, I believed him. I wasn't going for applause. I wasn't going to chase some spotlight. I was going because my son asked me to. Because some other kid out there needed to hear that showing up beats showing off. Every time, I was going for the dads who kept quiet, for the ones who worked overtime and still felt invisible, for the ones who stood their ground without anyone filming it. And yeah, I was going for me too, because I finally had something worth standing up and saying. March 17th came faster than I expected. I spent the night before at a Holiday Inn near the Denver Convention Center, staring at my boots for longer than any grown man should. They'd offered me a suit. I turned it down. I wasn't going to start pretending now. That morning, I put on my cleanest flannel, ran a comb through my hair, and ate breakfast with Aiden at a plastic table in the lobby. He was calmer than me, sipping orange juice like we were just grabbing a bite before school. "You ready?" he asked. "Nope." He grinned. "You'll be fine." We walked into the building just after 10. A sea of faces. Apprentices in union jackets, teachers, old-timers with worn hands, teenagers still figuring out which end of a wrench to hold. 900 people packed into rows. I could feel the hum of it in my chest. Derek Miles greeted me at the side entrance and clipped a mic to my collar. "Take your time," he said. "Just speak like you're talking to your kid." I glanced at Aiden standing just behind the curtain. He gave me a thumbs up. That helped. They called my name. I walked out slow, boots echoing across the stage floor. The lights were bright, but I didn't squint. I looked at the crowd and found a handful of guys just like me. Sleeves rolled up, work boots laced tight, waiting to see if I had anything worth saying. "I'm not a speaker," I started. "I'm not a CEO or a brand ambassador. I'm a mechanic. Been one since I was 17. And for a long time that meant people looked at me like I wasn't much." I let that hang. I was told I didn't belong, that my son was better off in someone else's picture. But I kept showing up. Every day. I didn't read off a script. I didn't need to. I told them the truth. They called me a joke, a grease-stained embarrassment. Now they call me sir. But I didn't change for them. I stayed for him. I glanced toward the side stage and caught Aiden's face, half hidden behind the curtain. He was nodding, slow, steady, like he'd heard these words before but needed to hear them out loud. "They measure worth in watches and titles," I said. "I measure it in promises kept." Silence at first. Then one person stood, then another, then the whole room. The sound of it hit like thunder. Not for a celebrity, not for a politician, just a dad who never stopped showing up. No camera flash could fake that. Afterward, I walked off stage with Aiden at my side. He didn't say anything for the first few steps. Then he looked up at me and said, "You didn't just protect me, Dad. You showed me what a man really is." I put a hand on his shoulder. No words. Didn't need them. We stepped out into the bright Colorado sun, the door closing behind us. I looked down at him, taller now, voice deeper, eyes clearer than they'd ever been. That's when I knew. Not only had I rebuilt our life, I'd built something they could never buy back. What would you have done if your ex's family cut your kid out like that? Drop your answer in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more real stories.
YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.